Welcome to Next on the Tee. We're lucky to be joined by David Glod, the CEO and founder of Tour Edge. Thank you for coming in. I know this was a short drive for you. You're close by us, but you go back and forth between Chicago and Michigan, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I wanted to bring you in to give people a look at, obviously, the 725 line, the new line that you have out, but I think your story is so fascinating. And we got a chance to play some golf, and I heard a little bit about it, but I'd love to expand on how you got here, how Tour Edge even started, and how it really blew up into what it is now. And so I guess to start, let's go all the way back. When you
Sure.
started in golf, you were really young, right? In Glen Ellen, Illinois.
Yep.
When did you get started in golf, and how did that come about?
So we lived on a golf course.
Okay.
A 9-hole course. And my father said, he didn't really play golf, but he's like, what you ought to do is sell golf balls over the fence to the golfers. And that's how I kind of picked it up. I would find the balls, sell them. That was my first business.
Yeah.
9 years old, right? And so it's a long story.
Right.
So, that was the beginning, how I learned how to play. And I grew up at the Village Links in Glen Ellen, which is a 27-hole course. It's probably the most popular public course on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
So I played through high school. I started a club repair company, which really taught me how clubs worked.
Yeah. Why did you start that? Because you had mentioned that before, but how do you get into that at that age?
Yeah. So, I was always kind of very mechanical from the beginning as a child for whatever reason. My uncle's an engineer and things like that. But I broke a lot of clubs with my anger. So I had to learn how to fix them.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you start a club building or club repair company at that age, who are the clients and how do you get business?
It was easy because we had 70,000 players a year at the Village Links, and I worked there and played, and I was behind the counter the whole time. Broken shaft. I'll start a little business and fix these instead of the other guy who's been doing it. And I was doing like 10 a night after work, and it was lucrative as a high school kid.
Right.
Yeah.
So was there a time where you thought, okay, this is actually what I want to do now? Because I have to imagine you didn't go into it thinking, this is what I'm going to do for a living.
No, I wanted to play golf.
Okay.
And I played local college golf, and I went down and played at Florida Southern College with Rocco Media and Lee Jansen
Yeah.
for my last 2 years, but I couldn't hold the candle to those guys. So I decided when I got back, I turned pro and I taught for 2 years, and I really didn't enjoy teaching. It just wasn't my shtick, And the whole time I had my club repair business going.
Okay.
So that was kind of nice, and so I finally decided, heck, I'm going to design my own clubs and get this thing going as a club company. And this is in 1986.
Was that daunting to think? I mean, how do you even, to me, to think of that first is incredible, but then to really launch it had to be pretty daunting, and where do you even start with that?
Yeah, so I was just in my garage of a newly bought home that we were paying 15% interest rates under whoever was our president at the time. But I was always just very entrepreneurial, and I had, I was just kind of always by myself. I worked by myself. I enjoyed the passion of golf clubs and taking them apart, putting them together, learning from them. And then there was this onslaught of investment casting. Just started. Ping was the first one to really do that. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of their early days as well, although they're an older company than I am. But and then there was investment casting overseas. And that's where we were able to get a good price. Mm-hmm. So we could make a set of irons. We'd sell them, I believe the price back then was like $239, custom fit.
Right, yeah.
So we rented this little shack, and me and a partner, and started making custom clubs just locally.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you make custom clubs, again, same question, how do you get clients to trust that? Because I think, the name brand, it carries some cachet.
Yeah.
How do you get people to trust you and try them?
It's always been the hardest thing, right? Yeah. And we're finally getting over that edge. It's taken a long time. But yeah, we're a well-known brand now, and but it has taken time, and we don't have we never had the capital of the big companies, of course, right? We're privately held, me and my brother.
Yep.
Still own the company, and so as the years went by, we kind of got lucky. Like with the advent of, say, Big Bertha, right? Mm-hmm. Came our bazooka, and that's when big-headed steel heads were out, and eventually became titanium. So that was another huge, growth area. And then there was Tiger. So that really helped. All those things kind of helped catapult us into a national company during the 90s and early 2000s.
And one thing I think that probably helped too was the tour adaptation as well, and the fact that some tour players were using your clubs, and some of them weren't being paid, right?
Yeah, our first Exotics 3-wood was just kind of a misnomer. We ran into this technology that combined a titanium face with a steel body, something no one else had. And because of the power of titanium, like taking the driver power of titanium and putting it in a fairway wood, we're the very first ones to do that.
Yeah.
And that was 20 years ago. And that 3-wood was like 20 yards longer than anybody's. So it just blew people away. And so that put Exotics on the map.
Do you remember who started it on tour? Was there, because I have to imagine it was word of mouth of why it spread. How did that really start?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the names now. Schnedeker was a good one. He won with it. He won the cup that year with it. And a few others. No super big names. We always were trying to stick them in Tiger's locker down in Florida, but that didn't work. But yeah, we had a lot of good play out there, and we still do.
Yeah, and at some point though, I know you shifted a little bit to the Champions Tour.
Yeah,
and if we can go through that, I guess why did you shift to that tour? And I think again that was a little bit of an accelerant for you as well.
Yeah, so this is within the last 5 years.
Yeah,
so it started about 5 years ago. We were never pay for play on tour. We were always kind of just held our hat on that, and it helped us keep our retail prices down because tour expenses it's very expensive to be out there, especially on the main tour. And we were on the main tour quite a bit, but we weren't paying anybody. I spent a good amount of time out there, and it really helped us design clubs better. But when Adams left the Champions Tour, there was an opening because they were kind of ruling out there on the Champions Tour for years. And, that's less expensive, great people, great players, and then we got Scott McCarron, and he won that year. He won the whole thing. And then we got Bernhard Langer, and that's been really fun.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so he's unbelievable, and I won't even tell you how old he is now.
Yeah, he doesn't show it though.
No, he's incredible. Like a 30-year-old body.
Right, he's the Iron Man.
Yeah. So,
and I think for a lot of what you all do, that validation really it probably has to help as well. Just that you've got tour players, whether they're champions or not, they're tour players. Professional golfers using your clubs, and I imagine there's still some that aren't paid that you don't know about that use. How has that impacted business for you? I know you mentioned it, you're able to keep prices down, which is probably a big part of it, but how has that impacted business for you in terms of marketing and being able to get the word out as well?
It was kind of dual source. We had a nice growth period prior to COVID, and then COVID came and we grew even more. So during that whole period, we were able to be on the Golf Channel quite a bit. A lot like Carl's.
Yeah.
And that really drove it. And we were promoting the Champions players. So then suddenly people are going, wow, these guys are for real. Tour is for real. And that we got a lot better down, a lot better branding out of that. And that's just carrying forward now.
I think your story, part of why I wanted to tell that is, I think one is just unique and fascinating, but the other side of it is you were a tinkerer. You like to tinker, and you like the specs of the clubs that you make now. You've got your hands on these. I think that's so unique. How has that, your experience and your story, your life, how has it shaped what this company is now and what clubs you're producing now?
Yeah, I think the best thing about myself and the people that I surround myself with is we all really enjoy traditional shapes. So we always try to start with that. And then how do we make it technology driven, right? And I think people really appreciate that. And certainly like the guys around here, they get it, They're always like, wow, Dave, this looks fantastic. The shape's amazing. And, we spend a lot of time on that. And same thing, that's why we get a lot of clubs in play, because it just looks so good. They have to play it.
Right. And it performs well.
That's easy. That's just engineering. Right?
Yeah. Well, and you talk about design and looking well. I've got this sitting next to me. You've got the 725 line out. The Exotics. I know we mentioned the Exotics kind of helped shape the company and the tour adaptation. I wanted to talk about this. We got driver and fairway wood behind us. I'd like to talk about this club and what's new and how it's going to shape the future of the company. We talked about the past. With this, first of all, you mentioned the look of it. I know I've hit this before.
Yeah.
We got the chance to hit this. I think looking down on it, the almost carbon fiber look on the top, the matte black look, the lines looking straight down, that to me as a golfer is important. How much of that is factored in as well?
It's first on the list, right? Like the shapes, the look. This is the first time we've actually had a matte finish on a club. It's our very first one, and we tried different ways and different colors and things like that, and gloss and matte and all that, and then this one just comes to life in the gloss and the matte finish.
Yeah, it really does, and the shaping, like you said, is incredible. But the face, something that I noticed too, the graphics on the face.
Yeah,
I'm a big visual person when I play. I'm the guy that picks a spot out in front of me that I've got to aim at, and everything's got to look right. And this, to me, looking down at it, the angles that it has, it feels like it shapes the ball and it helps me line things up. Is there research and technology in that as well?
Yeah, it's mostly just trial and error though, really. Okay. And it's like guys like you. What do you think?
Right.
And tour guys, Bernhard, what do you think? Well, David, I think it looks very good. So yeah, and you appreciate that stuff, which is cool.
Yes.
And certainly around here, we've got a very astute crowd, and in Bloomfield Hills and the surrounding area, and that's why it works. It's great.
So the stuff that you can't see, 3D diamond face. If we can start there, there's actual diamond shapes behind the face. There's is the point of that the variable width too, and everything that goes into the face. Is the point to make off center hits minimalize the miss, I guess.
Yeah.
If we can go over what exactly is the 3D diamond face and the technology behind it.
I should have brought one today to show you, but it's hard to explain a little bit, but they're just a small diamond pattern. There's about 43 diamond shapes within the face itself, and they're thick and thin spots. So it's a lot of computer-aided technology or analysis that goes into it, and we have algorithms that will help us design a better face for whatever that head's like.
Okay.
So this face is going to be different than the last face because the head shape's different, our center of gravity is a little different, and it kind of helps us design it from the computer-aided technology. So it's pretty cool.
I think the technology part of this of club design is interesting as well. I mean, we talked about you starting from scratch, and now you've got computer-aided algorithms and data that you can compile. And you mentioned CG. I know the CG in this is low and mid back. Is that correct?
Yeah, it has to be to get to the 10K.
Yes.
The big fancy term right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the I guess the whole driver, I think a lot of companies, and this one as well, it seems like you're trying to get to a point where we can get speed with forgiveness. Is that also here as well?
Yeah, so, everybody's driver goes about the same distance on the center. And It's just hard to get better. And the balls, same thing. All the balls, we test them all. And it's amazing how close they really are, within their certain categories in total distance. So now the races, I think, and I think you're seeing that in a lot of advertising from most of the companies, is better on toe hits, better on heel hits, and everybody's trying to raise the bar on those places on the face.
Sure. And then adjustability, you've got the flight tuning system, there's weights, we can go neutral, fade, draw in the back, and there's also a weight here. How did this come about? Why was this important to this club?
What's really cool about this one, this is the C version I think you've got here.
Yep.
So C is for our competition version, which is our lower spin version.
Okay.
So for guys and gals over 95 miles an hour, have a chance to use this driver, super changeable with the weights.
Yeah.
So there's a heavy weight in the front to start, which will give it lower spin and lower launch. Okay. But if you hit it just a little too low, and I should mention there's 40-gram shafts, 50-gram shaft, 60-gram shaft, and 70-gram shafts, all flexes available.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay, you kind of know where you range in the shafts, or maybe you want to try a lighter shaft, which is getting popular now,
sure,
right?
Yep.
Okay, I'll try the 50-gram stiff, but because I want to get more speed, right? And I'll start with the weight up front and see how that goes. Well, I just don't get it up in the air enough. I don't spin it enough. So if you flip those weights, the RPMs goes up about 400 RPMs, which is quite a lot. So
Yeah.
it goes from, say, 2,000, which is low,
Yep.
to 2,500, which is peak,
Right,
just
right
about
where you wanna be.
where you want it for,
Yep.
say, 100 miles an hour, right? And all of a sudden, boom. And then it's fading on me a little bit. Okay, well, that's where the fade and draw settings come in next.
Sure.
And then additionally, the tradition, what's becoming traditional now is the shaft turning,
Yes.
where you can lower loft or raise loft with the shaft, and
Yep.
that also affects face angle.
Yeah.
So by the time it's half an hour, and you can dial it in, and it'd be like, okay, I got a winner here.
Yeah, and you mentioned the adjustability on the shaft. I don't have that attached here, obviously, but I looked at it earlier, and you can dial it in.
Yeah.
Exactly what you need.
It's about degree increments on the driver,
Yep.
up to 3 up and 3 down. So it's pretty wide range.
Yeah. When we talked about tour usage, I know that's a big part of testing as well, getting feedback from those guys and getting feedback from the regular golfer as well. But what kind of feedback have you gotten on this line? Has it been? We've seen an improvement, and this
I think for our players, they hit it farther,
sure.
and they like the sound better.
Okay.
So we've improved two of the key elements.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited about the line.
We're talking new irons, 725 irons. These came out this year. I've told you before, these look awesome. I'm sure you've had plenty of feedback on these, but I wanted to go through some of the differences, some of the changes that we have with these irons. I'm going to start with this one, the C725. I'm going to hand this to you so we can describe it. This, you said to me off camera, is the player's distance iron, correct?
Right, so this is player's distance iron category.
Okay.
It's on the small side. It's probably the smallest player's distance iron we've made besides our forged blades.
Sure.
So people really love the look of it.
Yeah, it looks great.
This is good player stuff, but not, probably 12 and down.
Yep.
Handicap is fine. It's got a really good feel. It's hollow, so it's forgiving. Super hard face for distance, and Vibracore on the inside, which is our proprietary TPE material filling.
Okay.
It softens the blow and allows us to make a really thin face for a deeper center of gravity and a kind of a thin blade.
Yep.
So we get forgiveness, but you get feel too.
And you mentioned off camera as well, 3D diamond face technology in this as well.
Yeah, that's our whole patent game.
Yep.
So yeah, we're really proud of that technology, and we can kind of modify it every year based on how the iron performs over time.
Sure.
Like we get feedback and try to improve it all the time, and it's improvable because there's so many diamonds to move the thicknesses. Is a pretty easy test, if you will. So for instance, last model we had in this C iron, we found out that the hits higher on the face, which is always difficult, just weren't getting enough distance out of what we wanted. One reason why we lowered this face just a bit helps that automatically. But then we also just improved how the face reacts here based on our diamond pattern.
Okay.
So that's kind of an example of how that works.
Some of the stuff that we can see on the outside too, I know is not just for looks. With a lot of this, I know center of gravity, like you mentioned, MOI and forgiveness. Is there weighting in here too that helps with center of gravity?
Yeah. So this is kind of neat. This is in this case, the stock pad, this pad here, is about 12 grams, and it's made out of steel.
Okay.
We can go all the way down to 5 and all the way up to 25.
Oh wow.
So, for instance, we can make a long set of irons, an inch long, that's still D4 by using these lighter weights, and vice versa. We don't make that many short sets anymore.
Yep.
Not everybody's short like me, but
Me too.
but then we can make them with heavier heads, so we can go half-inch short and still maintain, say, a D3 or D4 swing weight.
Sure. Okay, we're going to go to the game improvement iron here. We were looking at this beforehand. This is the E. And I all of these clubs, I think they look great. And we've talked about, you and I have talked about how important look is and feel and sound. What went into the look of this whole line? Because they look different, but there's a lot of similarities as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to streamline. But the look carries over from iron to iron. These are a little more black in the back. We just felt it just looked better all black.
Sure.
But the materials are the same. So there's steel here and graphite as well surrounding it. And that graphite's kind of nice because it's absorbing again. So this is a little bit wider soled iron, a little bit more offset, a little bit larger face. So this is our game improvement iron.
Yep.
And this will be the big seller for us.
Okay.
And the distance is phenomenal. It's as long as any iron out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. In this category too, I know we say game improvement, but I think a lot of people fit into this category. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I even play this iron in my long irons. So I actually mix the sets.
Yeah.
In the short irons, I love the smaller head, but I can hit bombs with this 5-iron. So that's good.
I always say to people, if the technology is there, why not use it?
Yeah.
Right. If you like the feel of scoring irons and
Yeah.
of a player's iron and
Yeah.
want to use that, but why not give yourself some help, especially with the center of gravity, the forgiveness, and the longer irons.
Yeah.
Get the ball up in the air, which I think most of us probably struggle with the longer irons. Why not use that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, these irons are game killers, and they're awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last one, this is the interesting part of the line. You mentioned to me that previously there were only 2 models, and now we have 3, right? And this is the super game improvement, the X. I'm going to hand that one to you.
Yeah. So you can see how wide the sole is on this.
Yep.
And this is the first time we've had a super game improvement iron in the exotics line.
Okay.
We really think it's a kind of a new niche, this type of iron. We've been making this type of iron in our hot launch series for many years, and we sell a ton of them. This one's a prettier version of that, if you will.
Okay.
Right? A more advanced version because it's got to be exotic. It's got to have a diamond face. It's got to have the ultimate materials. This is a super hot special face that's thinner than just about any face on the planet. And then, wide, low center of gravity. You can see how round this sole is on this. We've got a lot of radius.
Yep.
Makes it easy out of the rough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that for turf interaction?
Yeah. So it's especially, there's a lot of mass down here when you
Sure.
get that wide. So it's going to go underneath the ball, get the ball out of the rough. And this year was that type of year where we had a lot of rough with all the rain, right?
Yep.
So this is going to be a great product moving forward.
What was the reasoning behind adding a 3rd model?
Just to catch another player in the whole mix. So typically we're more lower handicap players with exotics.
Yep.
And we're trying to game up to be an everyman. So and seniors and women.
Get the technology in everybody's
this will
hands.
be great for women. My wife loves these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now this isn't an iron, but we did want to talk about the fairway woods because this is kind of where it all started. We got a 3-wood here, and we've talked about this in previous videos. We should mention it in this one as well. When we talked the first time, we were talking about tour adaptation and usage, and really the 3-wood was what started it for you. That you were saying was the longest 3-wood on the market at the time. What year was that roughly? And
whatever 20 years was ago.
Yeah.
So, what is that? 04?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2004.
So but this one's better.
Okay.
So this is our best one ever, and I hate when I say that by far, but it is.
Sure.
So, and we proved it out on tour, out on the Champions Tour. In fact, Alex Chayka, who's a great player out there, I think he's a top 20 player out there, won the British Senior last year. Alex is a great ball striker, and he just came up to me and said, "Dave, I did farther than any 3-wood ever. And my ball speed is 161. My highest ever was like 158. So, and it seems small,
Right.
but that's a lot for those guys.
Sure.
That's 3-4 yards of hitting over the water on a par 5 green. But this is the ultimate because it combines a beta tie face. This is all titanium body, so that we have a ton of extra weight and a carbon crown. This center chunk in here is all tungsten. It weighs 100 grams. So that gets weight low and reduces spin. And it's changeable too. Just like the driver we talked about earlier,
Yep.
you can really move the spin RPMs and the loft. And then on top of that, we can move the loft in the neck as well. So this thing can go from about a 12-degree bomber to about an 18-degree, almost like 5-wood.
The adjustability, I think, is interesting with this because you don't find on a fairway wood. I mean, we've got weighting back here that can be adjusted as well.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind that? I mean, I know a lot of these have the adjustability anyways, but with the fairway wood specifically, is the whole idea, even with the irons, will fit any player?
Exactly, and especially a good player, they want to, now with all the equipment out there, TrackMan and such, They see everything. And it's like, okay, my ball speed's down. Why? Well, let's try moving this weight to the back. Or let's try a different shaft, the basics. But when you combine it all, we can get a lot done in the inner workings of the head.
Yeah.
Making changes.
Yeah, big changes. A lot of changes happening, a lot of technology in these clubs. 725 exotic irons, fairway woods, drivers, all out now from Tour Edge.